y'all. Another sad day, another icon gone to the ages. Demond Wilson, we know who this was because we know what Sanford and Son was and the cultural significance of that show. But he was so much more than that show. He was also his faith. He was also a black man who married a black woman, stayed with her his for the rest of his life, raised their 6 children together, and created legacy outside of the taken away from a black man. Don't pretend that this isn't significant, and I know this is probably not the place to do a tribute, but it's the God's honest truth. I'd seen John Alba do a interview with Demond Wilson, and it's one thing that I knew about the published books that I now gotta buy, since technically I can buy them, about the industry, because there's 2 books he published, but particularly one confirming that the stuff that they tell you about that entertainment industry is true. It's one thing that he published those books. It's another thing that he confirmed a lot of stuff to John Alba that's going to age really well with his passing, to give us warnings that that industry has never really cared about us. And people say, Tara, I know. But when you were on a sitcom that broke barriers, okay? On a sitcom like the one with him and Red Foxx, who lived 2 entirely different lives, and you broke those barriers, and you have a long list of black comedies on television that have come after yours. It's nice to have that person tell the truth that that industry always has been and always will be demonic. Because now we're seeing the disintegration of Hollywood and people being less interested in some shows and some aspects of that industry. And I feel like Demond telling the truth all those years ago, even leading up to that John Alba interview, the one that they parceled out, I think, on Hype TV, is a confirmation of that. Because he seemed like a talented actor, and so for years I was like, what did that industry do to him? Did they cast him as a one-hit wonder? Why is he gone? To find out that he willfully walked away. Now, don't get me wrong. You'll go look at his filmography and find out he still did a few shows. But it wasn't something that he was going to participate in rituals and sell himself out in the name of that industry. And this is just a theory. I theorized that they needed this man to do more and step it up now that he was on that famous show. He refused to and chose a life of service to Christ rather than deal with that, and I respect it. Because by the time of his passing, we can all accept that Hollywood is demonic and that you got to do some strange stuff to stay in that industry. And the fact that he was on that barrier breaking Sanford and Son show and decided I'd much rather have less of what that is and walk away and have a happy family life speaks volumes to his legacy. And I know Demond was a man of his time and grew up in a different era and may not care what people think about him, and I think that was a good thing. But believe it or not, his passing is something that gives us time to reflect on his words that came out of his mouth and his books that will live on and people will continue to purchase, and I encourage you all to purchase. That industry really is smoke and mirrors, and he told us all out of his mouth before he went. And so I can't prove this, but I would like to believe, me personally, that Demond Wilson walked away in peace, and that there was nothing in this physical world that was going to disrupt that peace. I can't say if he did or didn't go to God's arms. I would like to hope that he did, because I don't put people in heaven or hell. But he stands as a testament of somebody who lived it that a lot of that was smoke and mirrors. Rest in peace. I'm grateful to John Alba now for those interviews because now it brings a whole new meaning to exposing something that hasn't been good for our people. All right, I'm going to play the tribute music now. Thank y'all for stopping by. This was a hard one. I went from feeling sad to relieved because at least this man left a legacy in his publishings in breaking those barriers without fully losing himself and doing rituals he wanted no part of. That is the true measurement and definition of a man who played by his own rules. Rest in peace.